Hello, friends, and welcome to the episode 7 of Scrum Master and Product Owner Career Series. I'm Anand Pandey, your host for this series. In this series, we intend to help aspiring and experienced Scrum Masters and Product Owners prepare for their next career progression. And in each series, we get a Scrum Master or a Product Owner to get the insights straight from the trenches and get their experience so that it can help you take your career progression. You can register for all these upcoming events or view the recordings of the past events in our website, targetagility.com, under Events tab. Today, we have got Prasanna, who will be introducing himself just in a while, and he has agreed to be a Scrum Master interviewee, and I'll be wearing the hat of an interviewer. Prasanna has been helping lots of Scrum Masters in their preparation for the interview, and I'm sure he's going to share lots of great insights on how to crack these tough interview questions. So Prasanna, thank you for taking your time and willing to share some of your experience and getting into the shoe of an interviewee. I know it's very tough, but very best of luck.
Thank you, Anand. It's a pleasure to be part of here and share my experience with the team.
All right, so let's get started. I'm wearing the hat of an interviewer and you are into the interviewee.
Yeah.
So the default first question is, Prasanna, how about introducing yourself?
Sure, Anand. I'm Prasanna. I'm located in Chennai. So I do have like 13 years of total experience in IT. So I was a tester. I started my career as a tester, and then for the past 4.5 years, 5 years, I've been a Scrum Master. So I currently work for an organization named NIQ. So I'm here for past like nearly a year or so. So I'm handling two Scrum teams. So one team is completely transformed into Safe, and another team is currently I'm into a journey where the transformation is happening. So I'm having a very good learning where like handling a kind of a mature team and a team which is getting matured. So it's giving me good learning and all those things. Yeah.
So Prasanna, you mentioned that you came from a QA background, became a Scrum Master.
Yeah.
So what made you decide this transition of the career?
Yeah. So when I was a tester, I became a manager. I was given an opportunity to lead a team. So my character is like a servant leadership. So I'm a very soft. I used to go and I'm not a person who is authoritative. So I'm a person who wants to be like explain the problem to them, make them aware what are the things are, and then get the work. So like when I was doing that, like I was also given an opportunity. Since you are doing that, you are doing only for your team. Why can't you take a development team and start preparing yourself, try to understand what is Scrum, how to handle a team, how to be a Scrum Master. So I was given an opportunity and I got an interest. Like Scrum Master uh, wears multiple hats, right? That includes a facilitator, a coach, a mentor, a trainer. So like I got interest towards it, and I'm more of a process person rather a technical person. So therefore, like I always been a person who wants to bring some new things, or like try to say this is going wrong, why can't we do it in this manner. I try to come up with improvements every now and then. So this was also kind of a characteristic like what we see in Scrum, right? The empirism, transparency, inspection, and adaptation. So similarly, like I'm a person who wants to quickly inspect and adapt myself. I have the self-awareness. I see, like I inspect myself. So similarly, I try to apply to the teams, and it was working well. So therefore, like I got this opportunity, and I'm trying to do well the transition from the QA to the Scrum Master.
So friends, you see how Prasanna answered this, reflecting on his own nature and then aligning it to like how did he chose to transit from a career of a QA to a Scrum Master. This question is very frequently asked, whether you're transitioning from a project manager to a Scrum Master, from a QA to a Scrum Master, from a technology person to a Scrum Master, they will be asking you this question. So have a very genuine answer for it. And if possible, give some anecdotes, give some reflection from your personal life, the way Prasanna just now did. Prasanna, what was your reflection when I asked you this question?
So it is definitely gonna help lots of QA people who is aspiring to become a Scrum Master. So like maybe like it is a kind of a path that I have set, right? Maybe like if people who are in QA who is willing to be part of a Scrum Master role or a coach or somewhat, they can see like how I what are the attributes that I had, what are the things I learned, what can they do to so that like they can follow my path or the path that has already been set.
And we are going to have a series very soon where we will be getting people from QA, from non-IT background to share their experience. What has been a transition like? All right. So my next question to you would be, uh, what are the challenges that you have faced whenever you have joined a new Scrum team, or let's say your existing Scrum team? What has been your challenges?
Yeah. Yeah. So when I became the first Scrum Master, like it was a team uh, which was new to the Scrum. So that team was having a tech lead, but the tech lead was not co-located. The tech lead is from the client side, and the client was directly handling that team because that was a kind of a very important team in terms of like the back end activities and all those things. So I'm unable to reach out to that person because like person is on the higher side. Although that person is kind of a, like leading the team, so the presence of that person was not available on the ceremonies of the Scrum. So due to which, right, like team were having the trust issues, the transparency issues. So that was one of the issues that I was facing. Due to which, like people were hesitant to talk on the ceremonies. Especially, I felt on the retrospective, like they were afraid of the conflict, like because like their manager or the lead was not available, and if they are going to speak, like they think that it is going to be like um, misguiding to them when they come to know about the issues and all those things. This was there, so I try to identify that being a tech lead, if that person is available to the team on the ceremonies, especially on the retrospective planning and on the daily Scrum, that would give the team confidence and then help them to be more open and being transparent. So I went to that lead. There was a like kind of doing a director kind of a role, and like I spoke to that person, and the person was able to agree to that, like they were able to she was able to agree to what I was trying to say. And like that person started coming to the scrum ceremonies, and the team slowly started believing, and the team started opening up, and they were able to discuss about the things. And like when they started discussing, they got like they were afraid of the conflicts and all. Now like since the discussion was happening very well, right? So those things didn't arise, due to which like it started going well. So the trust got built, and the team was able to communicate freely, and there were no issues on the conflict, and they were able to understand any questions then and there they can ask and get it resolved and all those things. So this is what like I've done. I made the person manager to bring into the ceremonies, and it became a success as a Scrum Master. That was a challenge, and uh, I try to resolve in this way. Like so, this is my experience, and a team. I gained this knowledge through. There is something called five dysfunctions of a team. I request you all to go and read that. So it contains like the five dysfunctions of the team are trust, conflict, commitment, inattention to the results, right? So these were the things. So I learned from that. I request each and everyone to go and see what are the five dysfunctions of the team. There is a book, and there is lots of YouTube and other article that is present. If you could see like what is the function of a team, or what is the dysfunction, why it is happening, and there is also a solution given to that. So when I read that, and then when I start seeing that as part of my team, I try to see like what can be done, and I try to implement that, and it was a success for me.
Very well answered, Prasanna, specifically from your own real life example, which gives confidence to the interviewer that yes, you have been there, done that. And specifically how you were able to correlate it to the Patrick Lencioni's famous book, The Five Dysfunctions of a Team. Uh, I could not agree more that one should read that and one should understand how can you identify those dysfunctions and how can you work around toward it. All right. So my next question goes is, Scrum Masters spend a lot of time in helping team and product owners write good user stories. What has been your experience? How have you contributed team writing great user stories?
When I joined as a team, like on the planning meeting or on the refinement, like when they split the feature into the stories, right, they were kind of doing it in a horizontal way. So I first made them understand what is horizontal slicing and then the vertical slicing. And then the first step was from my side was to help them understand what is vertical slicing and then make the stories cut into vertical slices. So this gained them some confidence that they are able to deliver something on the every sprint. So initially, if it is a horizontal sprinting, they would end up delivering in a third sprint or fourth sprint. If one story is assigned to a particular or one story is planned on a particular sprint, right now at the end of the sprint they are able to see some value out of it, so that gave them confidence. And then like we I initiated a meeting, like we had a backlog grooming session, but the backlog grooming session did not, like, it was a one way of communication where the product owner was only speaking. So that is also one of the anti patterns which I saw. So then I uh, asked the team to speak, but there was some pushback where like the team was hesitant to speak. Then like we all discussed this in a retrospective, and then I gave an initiative, why can't this be a kind of an enabler meeting. So what we did is, instead of product owner only explaining, right, so we started deriving the acceptance criteria after a discussion. Okay, so I see like there is something called 3 C's. When we write a user story, the 3 C's are very important: card, conversation, and the confirmation. Card is nothing but like when we write a heading of a user story, it should have a pattern like, as a user of something, like I would like to do, so that what is the benefit. So that is how we, it should be written in a card, like how we see the visiting card, right? So where the general details, the name, what is the role, and what is the phone number. So only the necessary details are present. So similarly, the user story heading should be like, should fit into a card. So that is what the card is all about. And then like the conversation, which I feel which is most important, which has to happen during the backlog refinement and also on the planning meeting. The more conversation that happens within the team, the more that the failure can be reduced, because like we will be able to understand the requirement clearly, we will be able to understand the impacts, dependencies at the earlier stage, so that we can mitigate our risk. So that is how derive the result, derive the risk and then mitigate the risk. So that is how I see, like. And then the confirmation is after having the conversation, whatever the acceptance criteria we write is what the confirmation is all about. What is that we are going to do as part of that particular story. So I brought an initiative called an enabler meeting, where once a product owner explains the MVP, and then we will start as a team, we will start writing the acceptance criteria. So we take a feature, we write the acceptance criteria, and we will have the acceptance criteria ready. And once the acceptance criteria ready, and I was telling sometime before, right, where I help the team in breaking the stories from the horizontal to vertical. So we, like, they were trying to take one kind of a feature, develop in one sprint, test it on the other sprint. I did not want them to do it. Whereas, like, after this conversation and confirmation happened, when we have the set of acceptance criteria to be done, based on the acceptance criteria, for example, there were like 10 acceptance criteria that is derived as part of that particular feature. So we break that into three. And then the first acceptance criteria, we make sure that we put it on the first sprint, where that the plan to check act, right, or the like the whole development thing, where we design, we code, we test, and we deploy. We started following that, and it helped them to understand. And by end of first sprint, the first three acceptance criteria are ready to be delivered. So and then the second sprint, the next 3 years, like that, like we started doing, and the team slowly started doing their best. So this is one of the things that I did and helped the team. And team, like, there is something called invest model, which you can also go through. invest model helps us to write a very good story. There are many models, but for that, writing a proper user story, right, we have something called invest, which is like the user story. I stands for independent, where like the story should be independent enough. It should not have any dependencies. Like a feature can have dependencies, but when we create a story, it should be independent enough for the team to complete it. And then we have N for negotiation, or negotiate. As I said sometime earlier, right? The conversation. So the story should make the conversation, or the story should make it negotiable. Negotiation between the product owner, this can be done, this cannot be done, what is that we can do. That is what the negotiation is all about. V stands for it should be valuable. What is the value that we are creating it about? E stands for estimable. So it should be small enough, or it should be like we should be able to put it a Fibonacci point, or we should put a t-shirt sizing or something like that. It should be visible, that we should estimate and estimate clearly. And then comes the it should be very small, and then it should be testable. So I was telling right on the vertical, the important part is testing, which should the story should be testable, so that we can deploy it. So I request everyone to go through the invest model and try to implement in your story creation part, so that like we can deliver a good story, write a good story, and deliver a good story, create a very good value at the end of each and every sprint.
Oh, thanks, Prasanna, for such an elaborative answer and then the explanation. Uh, one feedback, Prasanna, and to the other as well. If you are sharing your experience, while Prasanna did a very elaborative one, but ask the interviewer. So once you have explained them, ask an interviewer, do you want me to elaborate this, or is it okay? Because sometimes interviewer may lose focus, right? And it's obvious, right? So always ask, explain them what you have done in less than 30 seconds, and then ask for their permission. So do you want me to share my experience, or are you okay? If the interviewer says, yes, do share, then go with a 3 minutes or 4 minute elaborative explanation.
Sure.
And one more thing, what he said about invest, that's really important. You go any interview question, they will be asking you, and they will not be saying that talk about invest, but they gently mean you should be knowing what invest is, what 3C is, right? You should not just be knowing what is the user story format. You should also know. And they might ask you, hey, share me a user story which was negotiable. Share me a user story which was independent, specifically around independent part, because technically a user story may be dependent on some other user story on some other team. So have these examples readily available. A story which was vertically testable, not horizontally. Story that was estimable, which and that might lead to, they might ask you, which estimation model do you follow? He mentioned t-shirt sizing or Fibonacci, right? Have these answers handy with you. All right, so let's go to the next question that we have. Prasanna, Scrum Masters are considered to be causing the removal of impediments, and that takes a lot of time, right? Scrum Masters are considered to be the one who's helping organizations, helping team remove impediments. What impediment have you identified, and how have you fixed these impediments? You may want to share an example.
Sure, Anand. So one of the impediments that we faced was it was like we were kind of a back-end team, where like we were trying to develop APIs, and we were also responsible for the infrastructure thing, like where the deployment also happens. So like we were sharing both the API creation and also taking care of the DevOps thing. So the thing is, like whenever like we were dependent on the infra team, and like there used to be some mess over there, like we were unable to get a proper infra, and when we raise some tickets and we will not get a proper response. If we want an environment to test, it will not be available, and it delays, due to which the testing delays and the delivery also delays. This was one of the issues that we were seeing. And we cannot blame the infra team, because like we were kind of urging them, but they have their own set of process, right? So we should have informed them at the earlier, so that they could make it ready when we need it. But there was a process lag, or there was an impediment there, where like it was stopping or it was delaying the deployment thing. So one idea that I told my RT is bring the infra guys to the PA planning. So usually like all the scrum teams will be part of the PA planning. Like here, like we brought the infra team in and one or two representative from the infra team. So whenever we have a dependency with the infra team, so we used to create as a task, right, on a particular feature, and we will also sequence it. So when we sequence it in the PA planning across the sprints, we create a task for the infra team and place it, and then we assign to that and we inform them so that like they can start their preparation at the time. So this is how like we started doing, and like we were able to communicate them earlier, and the time that we need a particular infra, like they were able to give us, and this is how I resolved an impediment with my team.
Hmm. That was a very crisp answer, Prasanna, compared to the previous one.
Yeah.
Appreciate making it very small because the attention span of an interviewer could get diverted. Friends, be careful when you're using such terms. So Prasanna used the term, for example, he was talking about PI planning. He was talking about VMs, infrastructure. You never know what is the experience level of an interviewer. Interviewer do not mention their experience. So let's say Prasanna talked about VM. And let's say as an interviewer, I have worked on virtual machines for 15 years. I might suddenly have that trigger and okay, now let me see how much Prasanna knows about VM or how much, let's say I'm a safe expert, how much Prasanna knows about PI planning. Take a safe stand. If you don't know, mention that, yes, I was working with a VM team, but I don't have an expertise to that. Your interviewer will appreciate it. Rather than bluffing, be very transparent, be very honest. And you may also append by saying that, yes, if the work demands working on a VM, I'm very happy and I'm very excited to learn. So you may mention that as well. All right, one more question, Prasanna. Scrum Masters are change agents. They bring lots of changes within the team. What one change have you brought to the team and how has that helped the team toward betterment? And how did you measure that?
Yes. I was going through something called behavior driven development. So sometime before I was helping the team, like I was explaining how help the team in uh, doing the grooming session well, and then also um, write the stories in a better manner, right? So I heard something called the behavior driven development. So something, there is a language called Gherkin where like there is given when tense. So we were also lagging something called automation, and like it was there but it was lagging with respect to the framework or something like that. So I've heard something about the BDD, and then like I started discussing about this to my RTEs and to my product owners. Like my product owner was started like uh, uh, got impressed what the BDD is, and like we were trying to bring that. So the first thing that we try to bring is like on the grooming session or the enabler meeting which we had, right, whatever the acceptance criteria after the conversation that we do, right, we started writing that acceptance criteria in given when. So it was giving us the initial confidence, and then the developer can start developing based on what given when, and the tester or the other developer can like start writing the methods required to test that. And if needed, they were happy to break down into scenarios, like the given when then is a scenario, but like they were trying to deep dive into the scenario outlines or bring the positive negative cases, happy path, negative path, and it was something very useful. And whenever like there is a stakeholder who wants to come and see what are the test cases, and he was able to see it in a better way, because like we were trying to convert the acceptance criteria to the test cases. So the visibility was there, like everyone is able to understand. Earlier it was like the basic test cases, the readability was not there. Now it became more readable, and we were able to do more automation. Like there were like we have like as a scrum master or the coach, right? Like we are also a lean practitioner. Lean practitioner nothing but like removing the wastage or trying to make sure the team reuses thing, right? So here we have one living document or one feature file or one document where we have the acceptance criteria. There is no repetition, right? Even after writing, earlier people used to write another test case doc. Now that is something like we are not doing. We have removed something and saved some time. So and also this living document is something like it runs for the every deployment, and when we know whether the living document is up to date to the software or the software is up to date to the living document. So this was something very useful, and we were able to see whether like any quality issues or with respect to the requirement traceability matrix we were able to cover with respect to this. Earlier, like we used to have a matrix that we will have the requirements and also see whether test case is mapped to. Now we have the acceptance criteria, and the acceptance criteria is like converted into it, like directly converted to the test case, or like it is broken down and it is written as a test. So it was very useful, and like we were able to come up with a good number of like we were able to automate more things and also reduce the number of defects after bringing the PDD. And it also brought some transparency. Like when we started discussing about this given when then, right, the tester was, since the tester who used to test also involved in writing the scenarios or the acceptance criteria. So he will come up and say like this, these are something that I will test, we can include that as part of the acceptance criteria. So initially we used to have the set of living document and then we'll proceed. So that is how I help the team in bringing or implementing the PDD, and it was kind of going well so far.
So great response, Prasanna. Again, a bit long, but this deserved long because you were mentioning right from how you introduced the change to how the change was benefiting the team, how you measured it as well. So you were elaborating it very well. Friends, be careful when you're answering such questions. You have to be clear what is your contribution. Maybe Prasanna comes from QA background, he understands BDD, but if you are not, let's say, and you were just part of, let's say, introducing Jenkins for their continuous integration. So be very clear what was your contribution. If you have just introduced but have not actually implemented or installed or did the groundwork, be transparent, completely fine. You are a change agent, may not necessarily be rolling up your sleeves and have to have a technical or development background. As long as you have introduced, that is also counted. Don't discount that. All right. Last question to you, Prasanna. Where do you see yourself 3 or 5 years from now?
Um, so currently, as per the safe, or what I do is help the team or coach the team as a team coach. So I would like to become an agile coach or an enterprise coach, where like whatever I currently do as part of the team, I would like to extend it to the whole organization, or an enterprise. So I'm that is my vision, where, and I'm traveling towards that. So I I'm learning. I've started learning more about the coaching, the different hats the coach would wear, and what are the core competency that each role that the agile coach has to carry out. Right. For example, facilitator. What are the core competencies the facilitator has to happen? How can I practice to become a very good facilitator, so that like I can become a coach? So I started reading books. I started learning through various forums. I attend online sessions. There is good sessions from Safe or good sessions from Scrum.org. Like I go through the newsletters. I go through the videos that is rolled out and try to see what is there in the market. And I also get help from my trainers, like what is a path and how can I cascade to become a trainer, a scrum trainer, or what are the certification I can take it up. So currently I've completed 3 certifications on Safe, and one on the Scrum OG, and I've also taken up something called ICP ACC Agile Certified Coach as a team coach. Like, so I wanted to learn on the different perspective rather like concentrate on one thing, right? Try to thorough the Agile Manifesto, try to see what Scrum.org says, what ICP organization says, and like try to understand, try to put my basements down. From there I wanted to choose a particular thing, either it's a safe or a scrum.org trainer, or like it is going to be the ICP. I'm gonna like I'm currently now trying to understand and see. I've not decided where I'm gonna go, but I'm trying to learn more, and then I'm trying to accelerate more on that. I'm lagging the transformation skill, which I'm trying to discuss with my organization, try to see discuss with my leaders, see how it takes, ask right questions, try to learn from them. So if I'm given an opportunity, I think I might get into the trend, trying to learn more on the transformation, see what problem is, and how are they coming up with the transformation thing, or how are they resolving, how is transformation, the agile transformation happens, how can I contribute to it. And one more learning that I'm getting is like, when I told earlier, there are two teams, like one team that is transformed, one team is in the transformation, right? I'm also trying to learn many things. They some things they do it in a waterfall manner, which I try to coach them and help them to do it in an agile way, so that like it is. So these kinds of learning uh, um, I get, and I wish to be an enterprise coach. That is how I see myself in 3 to 5 years.
That's a clear line of sight, Prasanna, that you have for yourself. And you did a very good explanation also, like how are you progressing toward it through different courses, through different networking. I also appreciated when you mentioned that what you lack, because that self introspection is very essential. You are not having that arrogance, you have a humility where you're lacking, and you have a plan of action for that as well. And interviewers generally like that you have that humility, you have that hunger, you know where you're lacking, and you also know where are you going to bridge the gap as well. And by the way, Target Agility also does lots of courses, right? Every month we do that so that people within our alumni, and we're extending that beyond alumni as well. How can we help people toward their career? All right. So as we come toward the end, that was great interview simulation that we had, Prasanna. And I'm sure people who will be watching this will be having great lots of takeaway from them. Uh, Thanks once again, Prasanna, for being generous, being very honest, being vulnerable, taking time out to share your thoughts.
Thank you,
Prasanna,
Anand.
what would you have to say?
Thank you so much for this opportunity. It has been like 20 minutes, 25 minutes. It has been like a very good learning. So I gained lots of confidence, Anand. And then and there, in the real interview, I would not get the feedback like how I'm getting, right? So it is also one of the way of transparency, inspection, adoption, right? You were transparent to say like what is where I'm going, or where can I improve, and all those things. It is something a very good learning experience, and a very good experience for me. So I'll try to improve where I lack. I'll go through the video again and again and see where I went wrong, and I'll try to improve myself. Thank you so much, Anand. I hope this is definitely going to help the people, the alumni, or the people who is going to be part of Target Agility. And team, I would like to say like Anand is also one of like a person who inspired me to become a Scrum Master and Agile coach. So I request you to watch his videos, see like get benefit out of that. Thank you so much.
All right, wonderful, friends. So the recording of this session will be available in a week under our website, targetagility.com, under the events tab. And with that, we wish you a very best of luck for your career progression and looking forward to the next event. And yes, do consider Target Agility as your learning partner for all your Agile certification that can accelerate your career. Bye, friends.